Oh man, I've been very bad at keeping up with my project on YouTube and also my drawing. 2 days ago, I did get some drawing practice in. Yesterday, nothing. Also today, nothing. Which means that tomorrow, I have not worked on my Brain Jam for 5 days. If I don't work on Brain Jam tomorrow, I won't have worked on for 5 days. Officially, now that it's 12:17, I have not worked on it for 4 days, which means 40 minutes, you know, that that's been adding up to a full 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. Yeah, I haven't worked on Brain Jam Extra since March started. That's pretty bad. And I promised myself I'd add 10 minutes every single month. That means that now, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. That means that tomorrow, if I want to get back on track with Brain Jam Extra, I'm going to have to dedicate 4 hours to the project. 4 hours straight, or at least 4 hours with like little breaks every hour, every half hour, preferably every hour, just to get it in. So yeah, that is something I will be doing. I will wake up around 9:30 tomorrow morning. Well, actually, I'll try waking up a little earlier, 9 o'clock, and I'll get started with like a morning stretch, maybe a little walk around the neighborhood. And then I'll do like an hour Brain Jam Extra, 30-minute, or maybe we'll just cut it half, 15-minute break, and then another hour Brain Jam Extra. I will just keep on doing that until I'm fully caught up. And with drawing, I was working on it yesterday. I had a timer that was going down, but then it only hit 55 minutes before I had to go to work yesterday. Or got to go to work, I should say, because having a job is a blessing. And that means 30 minutes was added today and not completed. So that means 85 minutes. And now that it's today, now I must do 105 minutes, which is an hour and 45 minutes. So in total, if I want to get caught up on both my art practice and my Brain Jam Extra, I need to do like 5 hours and 45 minutes worth of work. Which, this is what happens when you just leave your responsibilities to wither instead of to cultivate, develop, and grow them, which is something I really need to do. And I've been really bad at. And the main reason for why is just because I easily get distracted by content on YouTube that I enjoy watching. I then get like exhausted from doing my job, and I have very little energy to dedicate towards the projects that will really build into my future. And there are other times where I just like have conversation. Like today, the major reason why I didn't really do any of my major projects today is, well, one thing, I woke up at like 9:30 a.m. in the morning, and then I just like moved my car out of the way so my mom could drive to work, and then I went back and fell asleep. And then when I got up, my mom went to work at 9, went to sleep until 9:30, and then I went on my phone and I did some financial research for like 2 hours. I talked through like finances with Google's Gemini, and that ate up so much time. Eventually, my sister got up. I did greet her, and I suggested, hey, I was gonna go get some pancakes from a local restaurant. Would you like to come with me? She did, and we did go, and I picked up a Grand Slam meal that not just included pancakes, but it also included sausage. They offered bacon, but I chose sausage because I'm still worried bacon bits will get inside my healing tooth extraction zone, which it's almost fully healed, which I'm grateful for. I also got scrambled eggs and hash browns and pancakes and whipped butter. And my sister wanted to get chili cheese fries. However, there was a miscommunication between the cashier and my sister. And the cashier, when they were like talking, I think it went something along the lines of, my sister was like, hey, I want chili cheese fries. And then she said, You want chili cheese fries? We've got ranch too. Do you want a large or small? And then my sister got confused, like, large or small? Does that mean that, like, the large, like, ranch dip or small ranch dip? What do you mean by large or small? And they were like, large or small fry. And she's just like, I want just large fries. And I think maybe the way that was communicated confused the cashier, made them think that it was regular fries instead of chili cheese fries. And so that's what my sister got. On the bright side, her meal was cheaper, but on the downside, she didn't get what she, ordered. We eventually drove back home. When we got there, we decided to tune up an episode of the TV show Pushing Up Daisies, and we watched that while I was eating and my sister was eating. Our family friend came by, offered us chocolates, cherry chocolates from See's Candy. I put mine in a napkin and put it in the fridge. I had some coffee. First time I've had coffee in literally like a week. Yeah, honestly, when I first had that coffee with my breakfast meal, it was like, when it touched my tongue, it was like heaven on earth. I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot how much I love coffee. Yeah, I guess that's just the reaction you get when you try something that you have normally done every day, and then like you've skipped for a while because you hear caffeine can irritate the extraction site if you have it too soon, like when it's still healing. It's mostly closed up now, but so, and I asked Gemini if it's all right to drink coffee now. It's like, yeah, you're fine. So yeah, that was cool. Yeah, and the Pushing Up Daisies episode was a lot of fun too. I really enjoyed it. It was like a really interesting, creative episode where, like, one of the characters, the lady who works for the guy who touches people, they come back to life for a minute. But if he leaves them after a minute, they continue to stay alive, but then someone has to die in their place. And the thing is, if he touches the person again, even after the other person dies after the minute, then they die once again, but they're dead for reals and forever. That's the whole premise of the show, but on top of that, he becomes a pie owner when he grows up, and then a detective finds out about his talent by happenstance when like a guy like dies, and like he sees if he's okay and then brings it back to life, and takes him out. He realizes that like he died so no one else has died but him, and the detective sees him like, oh hey, maybe your unique talent could be used for investigations. So they team up, and then the guy accidentally brings back to life his former, his childhood sweetheart when she died. But now it's this like weird love thing where they want to get to know each other and they love each other. But the problem is that the guy who touches, if he ever touches her again, then she dies forever. So it's sort of a weird thing, where like they want to be close, they want to be together, they want to enjoy each other's company, but there's that thing where if he ever touches her again, then she dies for good. And the weird and interesting thing is, I think that one of the rules is if the guy touches like someone who died again and doesn't touch them and someone dies in their place, that person that he touches ends up, or living object that he touches ends up presumably staying at the same exact age that they were revived for as long as they're not touched by the guy again. At least that's what it seems like. I mean, there was a point made in the show where like the dog that the guy has since he was a kid got sadly hit by a vehicle, and he revived the dog. But then when he found out about the rule after his mother died from his mother kissing him before going to bed, when he revived her because she like died of a like a blood vessel popping or something like that, he decided to keep the dog around even though he couldn't touch the dog. And so he's now like in his mid-30s in the show, which came out in 2008 by the way, or 2007, something like that. And now the dog's just permanent part of like their living situation. So I would presume that the man will just continue to normally age while his childhood sweetheart stays the same age forever. It's a weird situation. Like, the rules of the show are really interesting. I really wonder how that even works at all, but it's a fun concept and really interesting to explore. I totally got carried away with describing the premise. But anyways, the episode itself is basically about how there's like this horse jockey that is like the ghost of a horse jockey many thought already died. And for whatever reason, this horse jockey is getting revenge on some former horse jockeys that are still around. And one of the main characters of the show, who is the lady who works at the pie shop, who is infatuated with a guy who brings people back to life, but she doesn't know that he brings people back to life. So the lady that is now hanging out in the pie shop that he brought to life, his childhood sweetheart, she's really jealous of, because like she's romantically interested in the guy. She notices these two are clearly interested in each other, and she's really jealous about that. But she doesn't know that like she was revived from like her boss's magical like touch. Instead, she just thinks that like she faked her own death. Yeah, there's so many subplots. There's like a subplot about like the childhood sweetheart's aunties, where like they don't know that she's still alive, but I say that because she's in a weird form of like being alive. So when the lady who co-runs the pie shop finds out, like in a previous episode, she doesn't want to freak out her aunties by letting her know that she's still around. She instead, like, you know, plays it off as if like she's still dead. And then when she confronts the childhood sweetheart lady about this, she thinks that she faked her own death instead of being revealed the truth that her boss actually revives people. So it's a pretty interesting like dynamic there, seeing those personalities play off each other, seeing those truths being hidden, truths being revealed, that dramatic irony where the audience knows what's going on but the characters don't. I just think that's a really interesting and unique way of doing a story. I really like it. But yeah, the lady who co-runs the shop, apparently, played by Christine Chenoweth, for those who don't know, she was Glinda in the original Wicked Broadway musical back in 2002, I believe. Yeah, probably one of her more famous roles. She apparently was a horse jockey, and she watches the news and finds out one of her former horse jockey rivals is killed, and she decides to take her winnings with her big trophy she won after her jockey years and her cash, and she decides to use that to pay the detective to get to the bottom of what's really going on and why there's a manic horse jockey killer on the loose. And so, of course, the detective, the childhood sweetheart, and the pie shop owner all have to go, and they all work together as a team to solve the case. And it's really a fun and interesting premise. And this episode was a lot of fun. I like the gag where like one of the guys, like who the first victim of the horse trample, like the death jockey, the ghost jockey, like he like gets his face like hit. And that's one of the interesting things about each episode is whenever the main characters have to revive someone, to ask them questions so they know what happened to them and so they can get clues and solve the case, the investigation. You usually see how they died and like what the aftermath of their death looks like with their body and their faces. And this one, like, he had like a big like horse like shoe imprint on his face, and like it's all worked and he talked to this. I really like that those creative decisions. I think those are just so much fun. It really is like a joy to behold. Yeah, they go in question, they get their answers, and then they continue tracking down where what their leads could potentially be, and so they can ultimately solve the case. And that's as much as I'm willing to go into about this episode, because I'd rather people experience it for themselves, because I think this is one of those shows that's really definitely a hidden gem and a really fun watch. And apparently it only had 2 seasons, from 2007 to 2009. I think that's a real shame, because this show clearly was so creative and interesting and had a fun premise and cool like scenarios and characters. I just think, I don't know, I think it'd be a cool show to bring back, but I'm not sure how they would do it now, because so much of the charm of the show was in the way it was made. Like, there was a certain vibe and feeling in the air back in 2007 to 2009, in my opinion. That was like a really kind of mini hippie creative era, if that makes any sense. Something about it was like things still had a tangible feel, things were allowed to be more expressive. I don't know, that was the era of stuff like Where the Wild Things Are, where they were able to mix practical effects with like puppet, like CG faces, like to create a perfect kind of like combination that really made it feel like it still had a human touch and feel to it. Yeah, handcrafted productions like Coraline, which were like incredible, and then you have like unique shows like Pushing Daisies. And the way I would describe shows like this is like it feels like you walk into a Barnes and Noble and you find a really comforting book to read while you drink your cafe coffee. It's like those kinds of stories that I feel like were really prevalent back in 2007 to 9 era. Something about that was just a cozy, story fueled time to me. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe it's just my childhood nostalgia just talking, or maybe there really was something in the air that made things feel comfy and cozy and like really like, oh, this is nice, you know? Can't really say. All I can say is that I liked it. I thought it was a cool era. Yeah, then you had stuff like Little Big Planet with like the handcrafted knitted look behind it, and then you had like BioShock with its high concept like design and like, you know, like cool like old sounding like 19th century like music. And that was such a cool era to be around for like creative projects that had so much fun and potential to them. I feel like after like that point, we've just kind of been in recycle mode where we just take things that were like nice and we kind of just repeat them, but they're not as nice because they don't have the same pure creative intention that they had when they were new, because they're being made more to capitalize off people's nostalgia for the thing rather than because it was something that was actually like, you know, worth continuing. Yeah, Pushing Daisies, I feel like there can be an exception made for that in terms of like the concept being a lot of fun. But then again, the actors are probably a lot older now. I'm not sure if they'd be willing to do that. I mean, they probably would if they wanted to, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm not them. I can't speak for them. But apparently the creator really wants to continue this series. So, I mean, sure, why not? But yeah, that's my long tangent about Pushing Up Daisies. Moving along, after that, I was so full from the pancake meal that I was like, oh my gosh, like I feel kind of gross, kind of uncomfortable full, you know, where you eat a little too much, you're like, why did I eat so much, you know? So I was about to go and get ready for my dental appointment today because I had a dental appointment scheduled today. But of course, I needed to groom myself because I looked really raggedy and kind of like, you know, frazzled, I guess. Because I had a 5 o'clock shadow, my hair was all like messy looking. So I had to shave, wet my hair, comb it, change my shirt because I got some sauce on my previous shirt, so I had to put a new shirt on. I got everything I needed. I left. I said goodbye to my sister. I told her I love her. And then I drove off to the dental office, which took about 18 minutes. Before I left, I confirmed the appointment and made sure that I was still on. Told them I was on my way. They were like, cool, we'll be waiting. And then I drove off. I eventually arrived. I walked into the building. I checked in. I was called in while I was doodling on my phone. I was listening to, on my drive there, on the phone speaker, I was listening to a video called Preston Dennett Onboard UFO Encounter, something like that. I think it's one of his higher viewed videos. And it was basically him going through each and every single distinguished onboard UAP alien encounter. And the reason why I was listening to it was because that new Kling 3 software just got dropped. And I started getting ideas for, okay, what can I do with this? I tried using Kling 2 to make a UFO abduction story. I kind of abandoned that. Well, I definitely abandoned that project after a little while. Because A, I didn't really know where to take it, and B, I just got lazy and complacent and pushed it off, and it just never got finished. I probably should finish it now. But now Kling 3 is a huge improvement because the sound is like really good. The prompt adherence supposedly is much better, and it's yeah, it looks like it's an overall improvement in every way. Now you can make generations that go between 5 to 15 seconds. So now I really want to make a dedicated UFO related story based on the Preston Denner real UFO encounters because I think it'd just be fun. I think it'd be cool to create something that would just like try to put you in the driver's seat of these real people who were abducted and try to see this world through their eyes and really try to understand what it might feel like to really be abducted by aliens. Now, is this true? Could all these stories be just made up? Could these be believed by the person who is stating them, but they just they don't have any proof, so they can't really verify if what they're saying is true? Or are they just saying all these things just to get attention and it's all just a big, like, goofy show? Like, I don't know. All I know is that stories are really interesting. I think they're fun. One of them was like a lady who was like really invested in politics, but then when the aliens abduct her, they apparently stated, "Don't waste your time on politics. They're all a bunch of creeps, anyways. Focus on yourself and developing your skills instead. That's where your energy is better spent." And she was like, "Okay." So I don't know. Maybe it could have just been weird dreams she had. Maybe it could have just been like, hallucinations, or maybe it was real. I'm not 100% sure. Everything's anecdotal here. No evidence is the key. If there's nothing, where, I guess landing traces, or I grab something on the ship so you can show, hey, this is one of their devices they use. Or, I don't know, ask the alien to give you, one of their spacesuits or whatever. I don't know. Just, if I was in a situation like that, I mean, sure, I probably would be shocked and scared out of my wits, but I'd at the very least do something to, confirm that I was there, and so I don't look and sound like a crazy person, right? I guess the problem is that these events happen so quick and rapidly, and people are so unprepared for them, who apparently it does happen to, that they just are so in shock of the whole situation. They don't really think about, like, oh, she grabbed some evidence. They're more like, whoa, what the heck is going on? So I guess that's the explanation, but I don't know. I think it's kind of a lame explanation. I need evidence, gosh dang it. Give me evidence. Grab out your phone and take a picture of one of these things. That's what I think. One of the funnier stories that I remember from this whole event was that a parent that I was listening to while I was waiting at the dental office was that there was like a guy who worked on a military cruise ship where, it's where planes land and like people have to stay watch for like enemies or a job like that. And apparently a guy said one of his crewmates stated he's a friend with the extraterrestrials. It was like, get out of here, you're crazy. If you're really a friend, prove it. And then the first time he tried proving it was when he went on board the ship and he left, and then he came back all at nighttime when the other guy was like asleep. And when he came back, he told him, "Oh, by the way, we came by at your house and we noticed all these interesting details like milkshake stain on the back of your car, and then other details that it didn't elaborate on, but that was the one I remember." And the other guy was like, "Wait a minute. That does sound familiar, but wait, that was my house like 20 years ago when I was a kid. That doesn't make any sense. The only explanation I could think of is you're CIA and you're just gathering intel on random crew members on these vessels for some reason." But he's like, "I don't know, that's what I saw. I guess their ships have time travel in them." He's like, "Whoa!" So he was like, "Okay, well, I still don't believe you unless, I go on board one of these things." He was like, "Okay, I'm going to ask him and see if that's all right." And then the next day he tells him, "Yo, you should go up on board. You might see something." And then I was like, "You're crazy, but okay." So he went up and he saw this giant ship that was apparently much bigger than the actual cruise ship that they were on. And the crazy thing about it was that this ship could only apparently be seen by the guy who was told to go up. Everyone who was still up and working on the cruise ship apparently didn't seem to acknowledge or notice this ship nearby them. They were just like business as usual, as if the guy who was told to go up was the only one who could see the ship. Which, if this story is true, it implies that the beings are so advanced they can choose who can view them and who can't. Which, I don't know, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, my clock's going off. Anywho, but yeah, the guy got put in the ship. He telepathically communicated with these beings who stated that they were like benevolent and that they were told by their friend that he wanted to see them, and then they like went on like a trip or something, and then the guy came back all traumatized because like this was too scary. And one of the more interesting things was apparently the inside of the ship was like you could see through the inside of the ship, like it was like you were in a glass ship, but somehow even more invisible than glass, where you could look under you and you're like, oh my goodness, there's the cruise ship. It's like I'm walking on air. What the heck? And it implies that the beings have the ability to control one's perception and consciousness of like their appearance and ability to perceive things. Which honestly, if someone had that much power and the ability to control people and what they see and how they see it, that would be OP as heck. And that power being in the wrong hands, yikes. That was one of the last stories I heard before I was asked to walk into the office, get my mouth checked. They basically asked me a few questions. They looked in my gum, saw how it was healing, said it was coming out pretty fine. Asked me if there was something I noticed or if I was having any pain. I said no, but there were some granules that were coming out of my mouth the other day, and they were saying, yeah, that was a collagen cap they put on top. That starts coming loose around the next few days because like it was there to ensure that the bone graft stayed in the extraction zone. So as the gums are closing up in the area, the collagen cap will pop off as well. So that was good to know. And yeah, then I went off on my way. I drove back home. Of course, I did say goodbye and thank you to both men who inspected me. And then when I arrived, my mom asked me to help with the cans and bottles, so I started to take the cans out. I asked my sister if it'd be alright to take the bottles out as well and crush those. She said she would do them, and she said she could help me out with the cans. I felt like I'd rather do the cans on my own because when I eventually do turn the cans in, I want to have the whole profit in there, and I've done most of the work already for collecting these cans anyways, and I don't know, I feel like it would muddy the waters on who deserves the money and who like doesn't, you know? It just, I don't know, it would feel weird and too strange, so I declined the offer. She then said she'd crush the bottles and put those away. I was like, okay. So I kept the bottles that she had in the casing, and I took the cans and I was about to crush them, but then my mom, family friend, and my sister decided to sit down and watch a film called The Mask, starring Jim Carrey, which was available for free on YouTube. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, because there's this whole conspiracy thing going on where people don't think Jim Carrey is Jim Carrey because of all the work that was done to his face recently. So I thought it'd be kind of funny to watch a movie where he had that whole mask thing on before he put on a real mask, if you know what I mean. So I wanted to check this film out. I thought it'd be kind of a fun thing, and they were like, okay. So we watched the movie together, and honestly, I love The Mask. I think it is one of the most enjoyable romps the 90s had brought into existence. Jim Carrey was essentially just being himself. He was like a live-action Looney Tunes character, and he was like this kind of meek guy who was kind of unsure, unconfident in himself. But then this mask comes, and it gives him sort of this confidence boost by being like letting the true version of himself out, where he could be sort of a rebel rouser who gets revenge on the people who did him wrong. But then like the main character doesn't really like this, the Jim Carrey guy, because he feels like it it's like clearly like illegal behavior that the mask is pushing him to do. But then he's throughout the film he gets into this sort of like conspiracy with like this like girl who works at like club, and like there's these guys who are like mobsters who just try robbing, but then this guy, a main character, likes the girl who works at the club, but he can't get in because he's like, you know, down on his luck and not making a lot of money. So he dresses up the mask, steals the money, and then now he's like you know, pretending to be someone he's not with the mask and thinking that it's his way of getting the girl. That's pretty much the movie's general premise. I think that the whole reference to the Looney Tunes, which I love. Looney Tunes is one of my favorite things ever. And the whole, like, the ability to translate that into, like, a live-action sort of romp. This mask character, who apparently was, like, a comic book before they turned it into a movie. Apparently the comic book was much more edgy and less, like, you know, fun like this one was. But yeah, I think that they ended up achieving something really good with this film, and I really dig it. I like it. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, when we were finished watching the movie, my mom made some chicken and mole and rice, and she asked me to open a can of green beans. I poured the green beans in a bowl after I dumped the water out, of course, by creaking a little bit and putting it in the water. In the sink, and then putting the rest of the green beans in, turning on the microwave, and then me, my sister, a family friend of my mom, all sat around the table. We enjoyed each other's company. We talked, we ate, we were merry. It was a lot of fun. And then after that, we all kind of went our separate ways. I did a bit more financial research before eventually I decided to. Oh, and I forgot to mention this. Before we left to get the breakfasts in the morning, I wanted to see a film called Hoppers, the new film by Pixar, and my sister and my mom were both expressed an interest. My sister said so more so because I was interested and she wanted to watch because like she wanted to be there to enjoy with me. My mom because like she's like it would be a fun thing to go out and do, and me because I'm genuinely interested in seeing if like this new Pixar film is any good, because I don't think I've seen a new Pixar movie since, oh gosh, probably Inside Out 2. Yeah, Inside Out 2 was the last one. So, yeah, it should be interesting. We tried calling my middle sister to see if she'd be interested in coming on Tuesday, because that's half off day, and she said no, because she had plans. So, yeah, we instead decided to go with me, my mom, and my sister. We asked our family friend if she'd be interested, and she actually has this deal with the theater we're going to where she can see a free movie, and so she decided to come along for the ride as well. So we're all going to see this film, everyone, me, my mom, my sister, and our family friend. So hopefully this is a good movie. Yeah, it'd be a shame if it wasn't. And if it wasn't, then hey, at least we had half-off tickets for this. Anywho, I don't know how it got off. Sorry. My phone decided to cut the recording. Anyways. Yeah, this should be an interesting romp. Hopefully a fun romp. Then we went our separate ways. I went on my phone to do a bit more financial research before. Oh yeah, this is why I brought up the whole sister and the Hoppers thing. It was because my middle sister's coming tomorrow, and we're going to be watching One Piece, and I told her that I found a Sicilian pizza recipe, where I'm going to be making some fresh dough for us to make the pizzas with, and that I'll be making some for her tomorrow. She's like, all right. So now we jump over after the financial research later in the day. And I was like, okay, time to make the pizza. So I followed the Sicilian guy that I followed last time's recipe tonight. I put the pizza together. And yeah, it was quite a process. Had to measure the dough, the salt, the sugar, the olive oil, get out the yeast packet, pour that in. Very involved process, very involved. had to knead the dough for 20 minutes. I used an electronic kneading machine, but I had to keep an eye out for it so that way it wouldn't be shaken and, fall down, because of how hard it is for it to knead the dough while not moving. Yeah, and I had to let the dough rest, and then I cut it in half. I formed it into dough balls. I put those dolls on a olive oil lathered up pan, cover that, let it rest for 15 more minutes, and then put it away in the back fridge to rise for tomorrow. So that's pretty much what was done. My sister showed up. We both talked about how different CEOs are trying to one-up the McDonald's CEO for the whole burger bite thing. It was pretty funny. And then we split. I washed and put away all of my food products I used, material I used, equipment I used for making the dough. And then I took my vitamins, I brushed my teeth, I took my antibiotic, and then I decided to record this video. So that's pretty much everything from beginning to end. So overall, where did I go wrong ultimately when it came to getting my personal duties completed? I think it was just getting super into finances, but ultimately I think that was a net win because I found out some things that will hopefully lead me towards a more brighter financial future. So I wouldn't say today was a wasted day. I'd say it was a really nice day, all things considered. So in order to make up for lost time, tomorrow I'm going to lock in. I'm going to get as much work on my Brain Jam Extra and my drawing as I can. And hopefully I can get the full 5 hours and 45 minutes down. And if I can, that'll be great. And I'll be all caught up, and then I only need to worry about doing 30 minutes of drawing a day and 40 minutes of Brain Jam Extra a day. So that's pretty much all I got for now. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everybody, and have a great day.